In this video, we are going to walk straight into the clouds, completely give up on the idea of dry feet, and find a style that's not even been built yet. In a sign that the end of the year is upon us, not only are the pumpkins growing, but also I was setting out on my walk at around 7 AM and the sun still hadn't risen. Almost annoyingly, my phone camera actually made the footage look really light until I got to some tree cover where you can suddenly see just how dark it truly was, even at that time of the morning. Anyway, let's have a look at me in real time. Why is it always in the first mile that you remember how much you hate walking? Well, if that's the best performance I can come up with on location, it's probably a good idea for me to limit the number of those clips we see in this video. So, where are we and what are we doing? My friends, we are setting out from Llandrillo. I do apologise for my pronunciation of these beautiful Welsh names, and we are heading up Cadair Berwyn, which is somewhere ahead. The walk is going to be about 10 miles long and feature 2,500 foot of elevation gain, and when you're walking over ground that is largely a big muddy sponge, believe me, you feel every single step of that 10 miles and 2,500 feet of elevation gained. Although I'm about to jump over this little stream in an attempt to pretend that my feet are going to remain dry a little longer into this walk, you can see the exterior of my boots are already very wet, as are the bottom of my trousers, so the water's going to get in there sooner or later, one way or another, and when I return to this stream you can see I'm no longer worried at all about my feet getting wet. That was a distant memory by that point. You can see we do get the novelty here of getting to walk over a brand new style. Look at that. Look how clear the grip is there. Fantastic. If you're unfamiliar with this area, this is what a lot of the Berwyn Mountains are like. General open land that is unfortunately very often quite wet. Even in the summer I've come back with wet feet from some Berwyn walks. But look at this for a novelty. A style so brand new that it hasn't even been put in place yet, even though the new fence is there, so there's a complete blockage here. You can actually see on screen now how the literal worn-in track now leads to that absolute dead end of the fence there. Of course, that's soon going to be remedied, and just down a little bit from that, you can see the rickety old style waiting to be replaced, but I just want to show you this absolutely brilliant bridge. Now, I don't think this is, I think officially I should just walk straight across and wade across the water here, but I decided to take the incredible make, do and mend farmer's bridge here. Now, if you're from the UK, you will probably recognise instantly what this bridge is made out of, and maybe even overseas people are familiar with this. But this is literally strips of barrier that goes along the roadside on sharp turns or bends, very often on rural roads. But in this case, it's proved very effective at not necessarily keeping my feet dry, but keeping them less wet, we'll say. Now, if only there was some way I could tell which direction to go out here in the middle of nowhere. I absolutely love that sign. It just seems so out of place. Anyway, let's start getting to the real punishing part of the walk now. So you can see, firstly, just how fast that cloud's moving. It actually looks like a bit of a time lapse, but no footage in this video has been sped up. All of the cloud movement and mist movement is the real life experience of actually being there. Oh, do you think, is this just a normal red kite here? I felt like the wings were just a little bit more curved and graceful. Just a completely random interruption to myself there. Anyway, back to this walk. So at this point you can see I'm getting to the cloud level, so I thought I better just do one last shot so that you can see what the view actually was like at its peak. But this is really the part of the walk that I would describe as hateful to the human spirit, because not only is it relentlessly uphill and getting steeper and steeper, well, just look at the ground. As I say, it's like a very muddy sponge and many, many miles of it. And this is why, even if my boots were 100% waterproof, I know that even if I had gaiters on, unless I had gaiters that came up practically to my shoulders, I was basically going to get wet from the trousers downwards. Just look at how depressingly bad the visibility was once I was in the cloud. Again, talk about hateful to the human spirit. Not even being able to see where you're going, to feel like you're actually making progress. I actually thought this was a good spot to stop and just have something to eat quickly because I knew even though it's windy and exposed here, it would be nothing compared to the wind and exposure at the actual summit. Speaking of the summit, what a great bit of editing that was. Anyway, as you can see, once I was on the flatter mountain top itself approaching the trig point, the elements and the wind and the rain really are just blowing sideways across, and I mean, that misty rain is visible literally within about 1 foot of the front of my nose, so it was definitely not the sort of environment I wanted to spend a lot of time in. So I did my usual thing, a little bit of sheep's fluff on the ground there, a broken stile to meet us, an incredibly weathered fence. Look at this. I wonder if those bits have been cut out or if they've just rusted away into nothing. But look at all the pitting on the metal. I know that's a really random, very specific detail, but it's the sort of thing I really like. Anyway, over the stile we go. And oh my goodness me, finally, we're here. And I can actually see the trig point. As for the rest of the view, well, I don't really know what to say, I'll be honest, it is what it is. Unfortunately, sometimes with climbing up mountains, this is what you get. Sometimes you have the most amazing views, and sometimes the view is basically the 30 foot around you. Well worth the trip, just look at the view from up here. You wouldn't believe the magic that the editing software has done to make my speech audible in that clip. Absolutely incredible stuff, because that was nothing but the roar of the wind originally. So, as you can probably tell, there were obvious reasons why I didn't want to stick around for long on the top, and I actually went back down pretty much the same route that I came up to the peak, and that isn't something I'd necessarily always do on a proper mountain walk like this, but given that I woke up and saw just how ridiculous the weather was actually going to be and the mountaintops were all in clouds still, I thought it would be an absolute waste to go up there and then do other mountaintops just to see absolutely nothing from every single one. I hope you enjoyed your trip up the mountain with me. Sorry there wasn't much of a view once we got to the top. Please do give the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel for loads more videos like this, as well as proper wild camping adventures, stealth camping, and all sorts of stuff that's in the great outdoors in general. If you really want to help me out, please consider becoming a PayPal supporter, a YouTube channel member, Facebook subscriber, super thanker, a coffee supporter, whatever that is. And as always though, thank you just for spending your time watching me do stuff. I'd particularly like to say a huge thank you to some of my recent supporters, including Alex E, Stevie the Badger, Lima Bean, John D, Mr Dave C, 1234, Art V, Stinky, Terence S, Amber S, Chris C, Nick T, Rob, Bowling01, Chris F, Hilly Bean, Martin H, Kevin Y, Alice L, Jackie A, Sean B, Colin S, Elaine L, Kaz G, Rich A.H, Monica R, MV, James G, Carol P, Steve B, George B, Sharon L.H, and of course Melissa S. Thank you very much everybody for all of the support. It really helps out and really means the world to me. Until the next time, thank you for watching. As always, keep it interesting, keep it mountain view worthy. Have a fantastic day, and of course, my friends, farewell.